Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be diving into further more Linux commands. As you can see from the thumbnail, some of the commands that we'll be talking about would be curl, wget and more. The first command that I will be diving into would be the curl command. In this case I am currently located within an empty folder within the parent folder called directory for the purposes of this demonstration. The curl command is a command which is utilized for the transference of data from uniform resource locators which are specified by the user. Curl command is powerful. It is a command line tool which allows you to basically download information from specific websites, as well as it allows you to interact with API requests through the help of network protocols such as HTTP, HTTPS and FTP, which have their own specific encryption methodologies which ensures your data remains secure. It therefore is a method for us to interact with web servers. In order to ensure that the curl tool is installed on your machine, you will have to basically execute this particular command, which basically returns the version number of your command. It would show up something like this, which basically specifies that this command is a recognized command and is valid. However, if it is showing up as an unrecognized command, you would have to install this specific command with the help of sudo apt install curl, and once you hit enter, you would basically be able to get the latest version of this command or get upgrades if it is already installed. Otherwise, a new version would be installed if no version was available before. For the demonstration of this specific command, I will be grabbing a page from Wikipedia. You can basically type curl followed by the uniform resource locator of your interest, which is an address to a specific HTML content on the internet. Once you hit enter, it would basically perform the requests, and it will send this information to the server asking for your request. Once it has been validated, that specific information would be retrieved, and since we are directly using this particular command, the entire HTML content of that specific page would be returned onto the terminal. As you can see, the information is still streaming, and once we hit the end of the file EOF, so once that has been recognized, this process would stop. And therefore, in short, once you use curl followed by the specific location of or the web page that you want to get hold of, it would basically display all of that data onto your terminal, which is not one of the best ways to do so. The curl command can be basically can be combined with the help of another tag, which allows you to basically save this data. As you can see, once I type ls, you would see that this data has not been saved in form of any format, and it has simply just regurgitated all that data onto the terminal, which is not efficient. So curl has this special tag, as I had just mentioned, which allows you to basically download these web pages directly, and therefore we can basically save this source data. For that, you basically type curl as before followed by -o, and after that you would basically specify this um, this location, and once you hit enter, you would basically see the details associated with the number of packets you are receiving, the total size of that said uniform resource locator resource, followed by the average speed, the amount of time which is being consumed in order for this data to be received, and all that information basically gets saved into the file with its own original name. in this case, this specific data, it would take some time and it would basically install itself. And however, if you want to save it as an output, um, we can also again use another version of the same command, whereby which we basically specify the name of the output.html. As you can see, this data has now been stored in this particular resource called linux_kernel. But as I had mentioned before, we can also perform the task of taking up data into a specific HTML format. So we can basically use the same command as before. However, the only difference here is that we would basically specify the tag in lowercase followed by the name of the HTML file that we wish to name it as, followed by the resource. In this case, this would basically store the version history data associated with Linux, which is stored on Wikipedia, onto this output.html. And once I hit enter, as before, you would see the total amount of packets it has received, the total download speed, the amount of duration, and the last recorded speed of data transaction which is taking place over the internet. So yeah, however, similarly, if you are only interested in determining the health of a particular uniform resource locator, curl also has another tag called curl-i, followed by, let's say I want to check the health of this specific uniform resource locator. You can basically hit enter and you would see all the associated information with regards to this content. You can see that the latest data associated with the recent modification, the type of content, HTML, the current data, and so on, and the server, and all these essential details will be available, which will showcase how secure this particular content is before you go ahead and download it. Another feature of curl is that you are given the ability to interact with REST APIs, which allows you to request for specific information through this application programming interface. So in a way, it is indirectly what APIs allows you to do is, usually whenever you request data, it might be going through your web pages. However, whenever you request data through the command line directly to the server using get or post methods, that is usually done through APIs or application programming interfaces. In this case, I will be demonstrating the application of curl with the help of getting a random joke from a official joke API. I will list this resource in the description for your ease of access. So for the purposes of demonstrating this, you would basically type curl followed by the API endpoint. Here we are basically getting a random joke from this specific endpoint, from this specific website server, and from the server of this website, and therefore you basically would return a JSON response, which would consist of probably an ID type or with the joke and the punchline. So once you hit enter, it would basically perform this request. Once this has been verified as a valid request by the server on the backend, the API basically gets this information and it returns this data back to you, and you can see that it's a JSON format. It's in JSON format, so it has a key value pair within curly braces, which consists of type, the setup, and the punchline, as well as an ID associated with it. So in this case, you can see that it is a general joke, and the joke is, can I watch the TV? The punchline is, yes, but don't turn it on. Very funny, followed by an ID. As you can see, with the help of curl, APIs can be worked on with, and in this scenario we have successfully performed an API request, whereby which we have gotten an information, a joke practically from the in a JSON format from this particular endpoint. Similarly, we can also use post. In this case, post would usually require us to set up username and password for an authenticated uh, post to perform an authentic post request. But for this demonstration, I would be basically be using http://bin.org post with simple username and password, which John password 123. In this case, it's just for the purpose of demonstrating the versatility of curl. So as before, in order to perform the post function, you would write something like curl -x post -d followed by the username and password. Username, as I had previously mentioned, it's a simple demonstration. For the purpose of the simple demonstration, this particular endpoint would suffice, followed by the endpoint in question, which is http://bin.org/post bin/post. So once we hit enter, it would basically give us a return response in the form of JSON, whereby which it would be a form with which would return the same. Oh, okay. Could not resolve host http bin. Oh, I see the issue. http://bin.org, and when you hit enter, it would basically return us the same input that we just which we just did here. So this John and the name John and the password 123 are returned back to us, and it says it has, it's just a simple demonstration, nothing too serious. But yeah, as you can see, curl as well is just as good for performing the post functionality, whereby which the -x post basically specifies that this particular request that is being conducted here is a post request, whereby which we are basically sending data, and -d basically is to to send the data. So this is pretty useful in specific conditions, whereby which we are testing login systems or specific APIs that you might have set up in Django or Flask or some other framework. For that, usually nowadays people use Postman or some other alternative, but yeah, this can also be done through your simple WSL Linux terminal as well. Moving on, we can now also try to demo the aspect of getting multiple files all at once. So as before, curl, again being versatile, we can basically specify the URLs after each of these, and once you have done so, you would type curl -o followed by the second URL. So you would just for the purpose, okay, wait a minute, followed by the second resource, and when you hit enter, it would basically go and fetch the first resource followed by the second resource, and that data basically would be stored on your present working directory. Here I have actually already downloaded this resource twice, so therefore one copy only would exist on my end. So yeah, you can basically download multiple files with the help of the -o flag. So yeah, so here we simply just repeat the -o flag followed by each of the file which are being considered for the process of downloading. So yeah, we can now move on to the second command. The second command is wget. Wget command is one of those commands which is kind of similar to curl. However, it has its own differences as well. This command utility is command line utility is highly useful for the purposes of downloading files, and it can also handle large downloads as well as resume interrupted downloads and so on. Here I would like to clean up the workspace here, and yeah, so in order to check if this particular command is recognized on your system, you would write wget --version and hit enter, and it would return some specific version number, build and more, which would confirm that this has been installed. Otherwise you would basically perform sudo apt install followed by wget, and once you hit enter, it would basically get the latest version, or if it is not present on the direct in your system, it would be installed either way. So as before, we can basically use the same information as we used for the examples. Here let's create a new subdirectory called sub, and let's move into sub, and let's perform the process of downloading this specific resource. And once you do so, it would basically send this information through the HTTP. So let's try to break down this information that we see over here. Here what has happened is that this particular command would send a request through the hypertext transfer protocol, and once this request has been received by the server, it would basically check different ports on that server, and once it has been authenticated that the connection has been established, it would basically get this information, and you can see a progress bar over here, the total size of this particular resource followed by the kbps information has also been displayed, and the amount of time that has been consumed in order for us to get this data across the network, and therefore it would be saved in with this specific name. It also specifies the name under which it has been downloaded. So yeah, the wget command is very interesting as it allows us to download files directly from the terminal, as we have demonstrated here by downloading a specific Wikipedia page from the internet. Similarly, as before, we can again use the -o tag followed by the specific name that we are interested in giving. Let's say version history kernel, followed by the resource name, and once we hit enter, it would again perform the same operation as before. But here, since we have renamed our resource that we have just downloaded, a copy of that would be saved. Unlike before, if the same name has been used, then it won't bother saving the duplicate. So as you can see, we have basically used the -o option or flag in order to specify this new file name. However, for example, if you have a large file and you would like to basically download it through in the background, that is this particular file, once you have given the command, it will basically run in the background. So you can basically go about doing some other operations while this particular download process would be taking place in the background, and it would basically generate a log file for your ease of comprehension. So let's say this is a pretty big resource. From the similarly here we are again taking another Wikipedia resource, but it is kind of large. So once we hit enter, this would basically give us a process ID associated with this specific operation, and all the log data basically gets written into wget -log. So let's check what's there written in wget log, and once you hit enter, you can see the data like associated with each of the amount of like the completion, like this much percentage has been completed through and through after the passage of so and so seconds, and you can see that this data basically has been displayed. So once you type ls, you can see that that data is available here. So yeah, you do not need to worry whenever you are trying to download large files, and if you are working on some other aspect on the workstation, you can basically perform this operation with the help of the -b tag, and this process will run in the background. Sometimes if there is some kind of network disruption whereby which a particular download has been interrupted, you would basically use the wget command again, followed by -c and the name of the resource which has been interrupted. So in this case I do not have an example for this, but you would basically write wget -c followed by the interrupted download location on the internet, so that basically resumes the process without starting over. So there is no data or extra information needed to be deleted in order to perform the download again. Similarly, we can also perform multiple downloads as before with the help of wget. But let's say you have multiple URLs which have been stored within a text file. We can do the same. Here I have stored this information in something called as links, so we can move links.txt we can move links.txt to this specific folder called sub, and let's move into sub and let's see our links.txt. As you can see, there are three different resources which are mentioned here, uniform resource locators which are here, which are pointing to three different pages on Wikipedia. One is about Unix, one is about the history of Unix, one is about GNU. So if you want to download this data all at once, instead of specifying wget -o followed by the resource one by one, you do not need to do so. You can basically store all this data onto a text file and basically perform wget -i followed by the links.txt. Once you do so, you can hit enter. It would basically go and resolve a connection and basically get the data, and it would basically get all the data. Multiple files are downloaded and you can basically see them on your current working directory. Similar to this, we also have the ability to set a rate limit. The rate limit is interesting because it lets us essentially avoid using too much bandwidth, and therefore we can in a way limit our download speed. So let's say we have some resource like another web page. For that you basically write limit -rate followed by how many kbps per second you would like to restrict the download speed. So let's say I would like to restrict it to 50 kbps. So you would write something like 50k followed by the URL pointing to the resource of your interest, and once you hit enter, it would basically perform the process much faster, making sure that your bandwidth is not overtly consumed in the process of downloading data. Similarly, you can also test a download without actually downloading the file. So this is somewhat related to web scraping, whereby which we basically use spiders to check the header data associated with specific resources online. So for that you can also use it with the help of wget. You write wget -spider followed by the URL pointing to the resource of your interest. Here the -spider basically checks if the specific file in question, if it exists or not, else it would not download it. Therefore, whenever you want to check whether this particular file exists or not, as a double measure, you can basically mention this specific tag. Once you hit enter, it would basically checks if this remote file exists and therefore performs the download. And yeah, moving on, these are the two methods of performing the process of downloads with the help of curl and wget. Similar to this, there are other methods as well, but for now we will restrict ourselves to these two. Moving on, we have nano and vim. Nano and vim both are a form of simple text editors on Linux. Most Linux users would use these particular tools for everyday tasks of editing text files and even other files of other extensions such as .py file or .sh files and so on. These tools are highly versatile and they have their own unique features. Nano is far more user friendly compared to Vim, as Nano is a command line editor and it is available for most Linux distributions, and as a beginner Nano would be much more comfortable, while Vim has its own peculiar modes which might be a little bit intimidating in the beginning. So yeah, let's start with Nano. So to check if Nano is installed, you would again write nano version. When you hit enter, you will see a version number. If it is not installed, or if you would like to install a later version, you can basically write sudo apt install nano, and once you hit enter, it would basically go and check for this specific resource and basically install it with new features and upgrades. So yeah, here let's say we want to create a new file called myfile.txt. With the help of nano, you would basically type nano myfile.txt, and once you hit enter, you would see the nano text editor window open up with several options mentioned at the bottom. You do not have to get intimidated by this, as nano allows this to edit. You can straight up start typing. Let's say I type hi there, and when you can hit enter to move to the next line. So here what we have done here is that since myfile.txt doesn't exist, it would be created. However, if this is a pre-existing file, then that would be opened up for editing. As you can see, you can navigate with the help of your keyboards. So that would be the up and down arrow key and the left and right arrow key. So we can basically use these for the process of navigation. You can also save these changes to your file by pressing Ctrl+O. Once you hit that, it will basically ask you to confirm whether you want to write this into the myfile.txt, which is the name of our file, and once you hit enter, these changes would be saved and you would see a message pop up at the bottom saying we have written 3 lines. Now in order to exit this file, you would basically press Ctrl+X, and you can see that we have successfully exited the file. And once you hit cat myfile.txt, you can see that our edits are saved. Same as that, let's say if you have some text, so let's say I'm gonna just copy some text off the Wikipedia pages, and let's open up nano myfile.txt. We will navigate to the bottom and we will basically enter the data. And yeah, so let's say we want to search for a specific word which is appearing in this specific text. So for that, we basically press Ctrl W. So once you press Ctrl and W together, it would open up a message board at the bottom asking for the specific text that we are interested in searching. So let's say in this case we are interested in searching for the term hobby. Once you hit enter, this specific text has been wrapped and you would see it being highlighted for a brief moment in as at the position where it is occurring. So we can hit enter to see the next word in this particular uh, text data. However, in this case this was the only word which was appearing here, so let's try that again with some other example. Let's say we want to search up for, I say, bash, and once you hit enter you can see that it has been highlighted as well. And yeah, let's say we want to now replace this particular word. For that, it nano allows us to also replace text by pressing Ctrl plus backward slash. Once you press these two together, key buttons together, you would basically again see this term appear. So here in the message board, it will ask you to enter or search up for the word of your interest. In this case we will search up bash, and then we will basically replace it with dash, and let's hit enter. And here at this moment it will ask you whether you would like to replace this content. So let's say we will say yes to all the occurrences, and you can see that this only one occurrence of this word has been found, and that has been replaced to dash. So let's change that back from dash to bash. Let's say yes. Similarly, we can also copy and paste, just like in a Word document. This is also possible in Nano. Let's say we want to copy the text. Let's say we will move the cursor to the beginning of the text of interest. So let's say we want to copy hi there, and we will press Alt and 6 on the keyboard, and here we have copied this specific file. And if you want to paste, we will basically press Ctrl U, and here we have basically pasted this text that we are interested in. So Alt plus 6 basically copies the text of our interest. So yeah, for the purpose of that, you basically move the cursor to the beginning of the text of your choice and press Alt plus 6, and for the process of pasting you press Ctrl plus U at the specific location where you want to make the insertion of the text. Let's say you are now interested in cutting an entire line, so let's go for that. We again move our cursor here to the beginning of the line of our interest, and we will press Ctrl and K together. Here we have cut that entire line. Let's say we move to the very bottom, and for the process of pasting we will again do Ctrl plus U, and you can see that that specific text that we just cut has now been pasted at that specific location. So yeah, let's exit this particular file. We will save the changes and hit enter. Nano, as you can see, when we had kept this Nano editor window open, we did not see any serial numbers present against the lines. So for that we will enable that with the help of Nano -C followed by the name of the text file in question, and when you hit enter, it would basically read the line numbers, and that data has been displayed at the bottom, mentioning that this particular text file has 18 lines present. Here the blank lines are also counted, and yeah, that specific data has been displayed. Yeah, so that pretty much sums up the use of Nano. Let's hit exit. Let's clear this workspace. Now the next command that we'll be talking about is Vim. Vim is a powerful text editor for Linux, and this might be a little bit finicky to work with for beginners because it has different modes. Before I jump into that, I would like to give a small introduction to Vim. So Vim or VI basically is a shorthand form for vi improved. So it is a highly configurable text editor for Linux, and it is more advanced than Nano, as it gives you more features such as syntax highlighting, undoing, as well as macros. But in this case we will be diving into the basics. So yeah, in order to check, as before, you would basically write hyphen version, and you will get some um, version number associated with that depicted, which indicates that this basically has been installed on your system. Otherwise you would basically write sudo apt install followed by the command of your interest, and when you hit enter, it would basically go out there and find the latest version. Here in my case it has found some extra some new version, so I will press yes, and it will basically go and get it from the Ubuntu archive and install and replace the old install the new version instead of and replace the old version in my situation. So yeah, this would basically happen. And yeah, let's say we will, again in this case, we will open up the old file. So let's perform vi myfile.txt, and you can see that unlike Nano, it doesn't have the options displayed at the bottom. Simply put, it has a bunch of text, which we had just edited with the number of lines and the name of the file and the number of lines that there are, and specific detail associated with the file, such as the size, which is so to understand Vim, there are different modes. So the three modes are the normal mode, insert mode, and the command mode. These three modes allow you to navigate, type, as well as save and exit. At the moment we are now present in the normal mode of Vim or vi. So this is the default mode. So this mode allows you to navigate, move your cursor up and down, left and right, wherever you want and wherever you wish. However, in order to type, you have to press the I button on your keyboard, and once you do so, you would see that there is a text called insert present at the lower left bottom corner called insert, indicating that we are right now in the insert mode, and now we are able to type. And now let's say hi there, I am using Vim vi/Vim, say we try something like this. So this is the insert mode. Insert mode pretty much allows you to you can also navigate here with the help of the arrow keys as before, and you can type and move your cursor here and there. New line. In order to save or exit, you would have to go into the command mode. To do so, you would basically press the colon key on your keyboard, and once you do so, for that you have to again go back to the normal mode. For that you press escape and then you press colon, and once you do so, it will basically show up the colon at the bottom of your screen, and here you will have to write something like wq in order to write and quit. If you just mention w, it will only write into the file but not quit. If you just write quit, it will not save any of your changes. However, if you press something like q and exclamation mark, it would basically completely exit the file without making any changes. So in this case, let's try to save the changes that we have made, and once you hit enter, we have effectively exited this specific text file, and here our changes are saved. So yeah, we can try this again with myfile.txt. Let's say right now I'm in the command mode. I will hit I am right now in the insert mode, and I will type something, some random text words, and we will just write, we will again go back into the normal mode and then press :W. So here we are right now just trying to save the changes. Once you hit enter, you would see that it would show that on line 20 we have just inserted some data worth 600 bytes. Similarly, if you would like to exit without changing any of the information, let's say I write some other text and I would like to go back and quit without saving these changes, I would type q and exclamation mark after the colon. Once you hit enter, and let's perform cat myfile.txt, you can see that the latest changes have not been saved. So yeah, this is highly important that you start getting familiar with this in order to feel more comfortable with this working environment. Vim, unlike Nano, also allows you to navigate with the help of arrow keys, but unlike arrow keys, you can basically use the keyboard keyboard keys such as H to move to the left, L to move to the right. If you press L, you will basically move to the right. If you press H, it will move to the left. If you press K, it will move up one by one, so you have to constantly press it to move one line at a time. And if you press J, it will go down. If you would like to move to the beginning of a particular line, for that you press 0. Once you do so, you can see that the cursor has moved to the very beginning. At the same time, if you wish to move to the beginning, to the end of the particular line, the cursor, you would basically press the dollar symbol, and you can see that in this case the cursor has moved to the very end of the line. Yeah, same as before, we can also delete certain characters or entire lines with the help of the X and the DD keys. So for that, let's say I want to delete this particular character E, I will press X, so it will basically delete the character after the cursor. Let's say I want to delete this entire line, I will basically press the D key twice in quick succession, so it will remove that line entirely. Let's say you want to delete from the cursor till the end of the line. For that, you have to enable the caps lock and hit the D key once, and here you can see that everything after hi there, comma, has been removed. Similarly, in Nano, we basically copied a line. For that, you have to disable the caps lock and basically press the Y key in quick succession, and basically let's take this cursor to somewhere else and let's press P, so that particular copied line would be pasted at that location. So yeah, we can basically copy lines with the help of Y key and paste it with the help of the P key. Let's say we want to undo these actions, so for that you would basically press the U key on the keyboard. Let's say we want to bring back all those lines that we deleted, so we would press the U. Let's say you want to redo the undone action, so we would basically press Ctrl plus R. So yeah, we have basically removed that specific line. Similarly, we can also look up specific words if they occur within the text corpus. For that, you press the / in the normal mode and write the word. So you can see that at the bottom you would see a / appear, and here let's type bash. So we are basically looking for the first occurrence of the word bash. If you press N, it would basically jump to the next um, occurrence. So let's say we type hi there and we press N, it would basically go and check the all the occurrences. Similarly, we can also replace all the occurrences of specific words. For that, you would press the colon key followed by the percentage symbol, followed by S, followed by the forward slash, followed by the word that you would like to replace, followed by the next word that you want to replace it with. Here we would replace let's say hi there. Let's say we will change hi to buy. So we will type hi forward slash buy forward slash g. So what we have specified here is that here we are gonna replace or substitute all occurrences of hi with buy on a global level. So here if you do not specify the g, and when you hit enter, what usually happens is that the on a global scale all the occurrences would be removed, but without the g it also works, but this would differ from version of Linux to different versions of Linux. Yeah, so this was a very quick guide to Vim, Nano, curl, and wget. I hope you learned something today, and I know it was a little bit lengthy, but I will meet you in the next one. Bye.